Good morning, welcome to Furry and Spoilt. Today I'm going to talk to you about dogs being itchy because of heating and air conditioning. At the moment it's January in the UK and it's cold, and so we are having to have the heating on, and so at the moment two of my dogs have actually got a little bit itchy that I'm dealing with. It's actually these two over there at the back. Now at the moment I'm on top of it and it's okay. It also happened in the summer when I had the air conditioning on. So I'm just going to go through with you the things that I'm doing. So this is the kind of heating that we use. So I know all over the world you will use different kinds of heating. And what I do is, so we have central heating and we have radiators like this. And so what I do is I put a plastic container like this on top of it, put water in it, and then that water evaporates into the air. It just stops the air from being too dry, and that definitely helps them. And if you've got heating where you can't put, it isn't this kind of heating, like maybe it's underground heating or a different kind of heating, just having a bowl of water in the room is enough to just take the dryness out of the air, and it really helps. It really will help you too, not just your dog but you as well. So this kind of itching I'm talking about is different to hot spots or itchy skin. That kind of itching is something that you need to, I have dealt with in the past by dealing with what I'm feeding them and what I'm putting into them. This kind of itching is what is being caused by what's outside in the air, what's on the outside of them. If you have got a problem with hot spots or itchy skin, please, I have so much experience in this because my little Albert here, yeah, my little Albert, was in a horrific condition when we first got him with hot spots. I've had to really get very knowledgeable. He is so prone to itching and hot spots because he's got Beetle Frise in him. So prone, aren't you, darling? He's off. So prone to itching and hot spots that I have always got to be on top of it all the time. And doing what I'm doing, I've managed to keep him completely, he's not itchy, he has no hot spots, it's all going really well. What I'll do is, at the end of this video, you know where you can put up a video, I'll put the playlist to itchy skin, because I talk about in that video all about itchiness and hot spots. But what is important here is that you realise the difference between a dog can get itchy, but because of what you're putting into him, like what you're feeding him, or he can get itchy by what's going on outside him. And it's quite hard really to tell, if you're not experienced in this, it's quite hard to tell the difference. So with this kind of itching that I'm talking about now with the central heating and the air conditioning, what happened is, so let's just take Humps as an example here, because him and Albert get itchy when the central heating's on. Harry, the first dog you saw under his blanket, he doesn't get itchy at all. And what happened was, so when Humps came, he came to us in August and the air conditioning was on, and he'd come from an environment where he was just living outside, so he wasn't used to it. And I noticed that he kept licking his back paw, and it wasn't, you couldn't really see an awful lot there. It was a little bit red, but he just kept licking it. And that is always, any time that happens, that should be ring alarm bells for you, for two reasons. First, it could be itchy and you need to get on top of that, because they will turn that into a wound quicker than you could possibly believe. But secondly, it keep licking like that can be something that dogs do if they're anxious. So they do it as a kind of release. And because he'd just come to us from Korea, that was very likely that that's what it could have been. And I wasn't quite sure which way it was. I wasn't sure if he was doing it because he was anxious or if he was doing it because the air conditioning was making him itchy. But the spray, no, I'll show you in a minute the treatments I've used. But the spray that I used was brilliant because he was actually licking his back legs, and he really couldn't handle him very well when we first got him. And I was able to spray that on, and it cleared up, and he stopped doing it. So I knew that he has a problem with air conditioning. If you put cream on it and the dog continued to go at it, then you know that it potentially could be a habit and you need to break that. So as soon as you see him do it, make a noise, distract him, and then look at why do you think the dog could be anxious. But thankfully for Humps, it was just the air conditioning, and I was able to sort that out really easily. Then when we put the heating on, about a month ago, he started doing it again. and I knew it was because of the heating. And so he kept licking it, and I did the same thing again. Just got the spray out, sprayed him, and he's cleared it all up, and there's no problems at all. What I've done is, so it was really cold in the beginning of our winter, like really, really, really stupid cold. And so the heating was on a lot, and that made him and Albert itchy. And Albert was the same. He just started going at a spot, and I put cream on it, and it stopped, and it's fine. And so what I did was, I thought, okay, I put the heating on too high for too long for them, and they didn't have time to get used to it. So what I did was I started it really low. So I started it on 17 degrees, really low, for a few hours, and I turn it off, then put it on a few more hours. And I kept doing it like that, and that has got them more and more used to it. And so now we can have the heating on, and there aren't any issues at all with their itchy skin. These are two products I would never be without. On any of my videos talking about itchy skin, you will see me go on and on and on about these products. They are absolutely brilliant for itchy skin. So I'm not saying the Johnsons in particular, but what I'm saying is a tea tree skin cream I have found to be absolutely brilliant with any itchy condition on any dogs. And I put this on as soon as I noticed them having a little red spot and they're starting to keep going at it. And the spray is brilliant if your dog's not very good at being handled or something like that, then this is brilliant because you can do it from a distance. When we first got Humped, we'd only had him like a week, and the air conditioning was on, and I noticed he started to get itchy, and I wasn't able to handle him at all then because he was completely new to us. Wasn't able to handle him at all then, and so I used this spray, and I was able to just do it at a distance, and it was great. I definitely try and have the heating on less than I normally would, because I don't want the boys to get too itchy. And even though I really don't feel the cold, I really don't, but just the amount we have the heating on makes the dogs itchy. But I suppose it's just whatever your dogs get used to. But what I do is, if they are getting a bit itchy and that, I'll turn the heating off and just put this little heater on in the room I'm in with them, so we're warm enough in the room we're in. It just reduces the amount of time I need to have the central heating on, because I find this is nowhere near as drying as the central heating is. And so it's just something I do sometimes if they're getting a bit itchy, just turn the central heating off and just put this little heater on. The other thing that I always make sure I do is that the house is well ventilated. I absolutely love fresh air. I love having the house fresh and nice. But obviously when it's really cold, you can't always do that. So what I just make sure when I do is, when it's cold outside and the heating's on, is make sure that a few times a day I just open up the windows or this door, and it just stops the air from getting too dry and brings in a bit of nice air that's got moisture in it. The problem we had when it was really, really cold was that the outside air was as dry as the inside air, and I think that is why that's particularly what triggered them. But now it's raining and stuff, and so when I open up the door, it's bringing in some moist air, and that really helps. If you're familiar with me, you'll know that I feed my boys coconut oil. I just give them extra coconut oil when the heating is on, just simply to help them. And also, I feed my dogs a spoonful of tinned salmon every day. Now, I actually do that because I was dealing with hot spots, but it actually really helps for heat if the heating is on or the air conditioning, because it just moisturises the skin from within. So all in all, it's just about watching your dogs, and please don't underestimate how quickly they can turn what starts off as a little itchy spot into a massive wound. It's incredible. You'd think it would hurt them and they wouldn't do it, but they do, and they'll really, really go at it. The creams that I talked about, if you're in the UK, I've always got them on eBay. They've actually been quite hard to get hold of, but I've been getting them on eBay. But now I've found out that they are selling them in Pets at Home. So that's great. Obviously, I don't know how that stands around the world. But it's any tea tree cream. But never use tea tree oil, human tea tree oil on dogs. That's very bad for them. But find a dog cream that's got tea tree oil in it. And and it works so well. I mean, there were so many itch creams out there and I tried them all. But this one, I started using it about 7 years ago, and it's the only one I've ever used since. And any gnat bite or scrape or cut or itchiness or anything that any of my boys have had, I've got 3 dogs, so you know, all sorts of things happen. And I've always used that cream, and it sorts things out so quickly. And it's not just like because I've got my Albert over here, he's a Bichon Frise. He just generally is a very itchy little dog, and so to keep on top of everything, like I put that cream on his paws after a walk, just to keep them nice and moisturised. And like I said, anything, I've always used it, and it's so great. And the combination of the cream or the spray, I absolutely love that combination, because it means that I can either spray, or the other thing I do, if I don't like the spray, is I spray the spray into my hands, the liquid from the spray into my hands, and then they just think they're being stroked, and you can get it in them, and it soaks in really, really quickly. And then after I put the cream or the spray on, I carry the dogs around or distract them and make a fuss of them, so they don't just go straight and lick it off. They always go and lick it off, and it's never done them any harm. But just make sure that you've distracted them long enough so that it is able to go in to the skin. And maybe do that a couple of times a day. Do it before bed so they haven't got to get through the whole night with it being itchy. But I found that if you're on it, it clears up really quickly, and you don't go on to have problems. And just doing the other stuff to keep the air in the house as moist and fresh as I can, it works really well. I mean, I could actually take the house a whole lot colder. I could have the heating on a lot less than we do. But I have to be aware that I don't want the dogs to get cold, and especially Albert, my little sweetheart behind me. He's 9.5 now, and so I just need to be aware of him keeping not getting too cold. I do have my house very low. I generally have it at about 17 degrees, which I know is quite low. I know a lot of people have it hotter, and your dog will get used to wherever you have had it at. But generally, I have it at about 17 degrees. And it's going okay, but like I don't always have it on all day, and also because it's only 17 degrees, it does turn on and off a lot during the day. But it's just about being aware of them, really. But the most important thing is that you do something about it, because if you don't, and they will just rip that to pieces. Like I said, the hot spots and general itchy skin is a slightly different subject. It's caused by different things, and in a minute I will pop that playlist up for itchy skin, and you'll be able to see in there all the different videos I've done about dogs and itchy skin. It's something that I've had to become very, very knowledgeable about over the years. But it's all going very well. I'm pleased with how that's going, so that's great. So that's it as always. You know how it all works, what you have to do, subscribe, like, all the stuff you have to do, and put your stuff in the comments. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and I'm on TikTok now. Who knew? I'm on TikTok. I've started doing my dog tip of the day. And it's just, I thought, as I'm going about my day, there are so many little things that I do. Because all my dogs are all rescue, and they're all rescues from really, really bad situations, I tend to have to face a lot of problems with them. And so as I'm going about my day, I have to come up with all sorts of solutions to stuff. And I do mention as many of them as I can in these videos, but I just thought if I could just dog tip of the day. So I'll be doing something, and I think that could help other people. And I just pop it up on dog tip of the day. And so they're now going on Instagram, TikTok and Twitter. But I'm there if you want to ask me any questions or anything like that. So thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.